Hey guys, welcome back to the Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter board game review. Today's game up on the tabletop is called Wreck and Ruin. Wreck and Ruin is for 2 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, and roughly about 60 to about 120 minutes. In the game Wreck and Ruin, you're going to be playing like a Mad Max style salvaging game, when you're actually going to be driving trucks and motorcycles and that kind of stuff across this barren, post-apocalyptic landscape. You're going to be crashing into each other, gathering as much salvage as you possibly can, and warding off your opponents while you're trying to do various things in this King of the Hill style game. Anyway, let me go ahead and show you what it looks like. So here we have Wreck and Ruin, and right now we have it set up for 3 players, but as you can see there are 4 different various colors to play for 4 players. Also, you're going to notice that there's going to be these cards here, and you can select one of these at random for the game and put the rest away, and you would use one for each of the different colors. Also, you're going to have extra tile boards for additional players, and they have a front and a back side. You're going to get a rule book explaining the various ways of how to play the game, as well as all the different player reference cards. You'll notice you have larger trucks all the way down to motorcycles here, as well as a round tracker that you can literally attach straight onto the board just like this. And it also has a little round tracker thing here, which shows you what round it is. You're also going to get salvage cards, event cards, different dice with different various player colors, and a ton of tokens that represent either action points or other things that can happen, or places on the board that you can take a visit to. But anyway, that is the basic idea of the game, other than just the last little bit here, which are these little fire tokens, which will go onto your trucks or motorcycles if they are taking damage. So Wreck and Ruin consists of 6 rounds. Now, you can play the shorter version of the game for 4 rounds, but the basic game is going to be 6 rounds. And the idea in which is you're going to have action points in which you'll be spending throughout the game. There are 5 of them that you'll each be getting, as well as a salvage card and your own character or class card. And you're going to be able to do 4 basic different actions. You can move, attack, ram, or search a wreckage. Of course, and those are for each vehicle usually. There's also a couple other actions, like you can search for salvage, you can attempt to repair, or you can even bring a vehicle into play. Now, you can only do one of each of those 4 individual actions, the move, attack, ram, and search per vehicle, so you can't continually do move, 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 move. But you can use all 5 of your action points up, and when you're done with that, you're going to end your turn and pass it along. On the first round of the game, everybody is going to take all of their actions, but nobody's going to get to draw any cards. You'll actually start with one, so you can use that one, and it won't cost you anything unless the card specifically says so. But after the first round of play has taken place, there are event cards that are going to be drawn, and you're each going to be able to do one of the event. Use the card at the beginning of your turn throughout the entire round. After that, this one gets discarded, and a new event will be drawn. Also, you'll be able to draw salvage cards based on searching wreckage or simply just searching the map, and you're going to be able to use these cards that will give you different various things. You're also going to be, while moving, able to ram other people's vehicles, claiming different locations on the map that are going to help you win the game, and other various things throughout the game. Alright, well, let me go ahead and show you what the game looks like so you get a good idea of it, and a couple rounds of play. Okay, so we've gone ahead and set up Wreck and Ruin for you guys. As you can see, there's a 3-player game with all 3 players set up. Salvage cards as well as the player class cards, which you get to use once per game at any point. Once you use it, it's done for. Also, action points let you know how many actions you've used. You can simply go ahead and flip them face down when they're done being used and flip them face up when it's your turn again. You're also going to get all these tokens here all set up for you, as well as the round tracker, which will be moving along throughout the rounds just simply by turning this little thing. And it's nice because it'll tell you on the first turn you can't play any cards, and then the next turn, or the first round you can't play any cards, or let's see, no event cards can be used. There's also, yeah, so that's just telling you that. But the second round is when you draw the event cards, and then they kind of go on through there. And right here, this line shows you that it's the end of the beginning or easy mode or the quick mode, and then at the 6th player, this 6th round, that shows the full advanced game. You also got different die for all the different players, so, and they actually tell you which colors are for which. I think it's actually like this and like this. And then we got reds over here, and they all have different names. The Reapers, the Ruin Army, and the Salvos. Alright, for the board setup, it's pretty simple. You got these 3 starting areas that you're going to put facing them like this, and 4 different random ones here. When you flip over, when you put the boards down, you have to put one of each of these guys in the red, which indicates that they have not been taken. And you can't actually put them in any of these hazardous areas or these unpassable terrain areas. Over here, you got the little fires, which you'll be adding to the vehicles whenever you take damage, just simply by putting it in like that. Boop, and got a little fire going on there. And you're going to set the event cards and the salvage cards over here to the side. Alright, so for a first turn, the first round, I'll go ahead and just show you a quick one with blue. And you get to decide how you want to face these guys. You put them anywhere you want in this little hexagon, this little area here, all of these little hexes. And you're going to start with your action points. So we'll start over here, I think it's with the Salvos, I believe. And we're going to go ahead and use their action points. So, like I said before, we have move, attack, ram, and searching a wreckage, we'll just go ahead and show you a move. And with the moves, you actually get to go ahead and use this little vehicle chart, which is nice. So over here it tells you move, and we're looking at our scout here. So we use this guy here, and it says 8. When you move it, simply going to be an action point, and you go 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to turn, that's another one for 5, 6, 7, and 8. That's a simple move. You could do that again from another car if you want, and maybe 1, 2 maybe, and you can stop there and end your movement there. And that is going to let you on your next turn, if you begin your turn on one of these spaces, you get to flip it over, and if your turn ends in one of these spaces, you actually collect these, and that's how you're winning the game, by getting these little wreckage area, those little salvage areas. So on the next move, we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I think that's what the buggy does, is 6 actually, so that's good. And then we've got a wrecker for 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what other things can we do? We can attack, we can ram, search a wreckage. So searching a wreckage means we would have to, if this guy was blown up, we could simply search him and remove him from the board and draw a card. Otherwise, we can use some other different actions, like search for salvage, attempt to repair, or bring a vehicle into play. Well, we have all our vehicles in play. We don't have a need to repair, so we can search for salvage. Now, we can't play these cards, but we can take them and save them for a later date, just putting it like that, ending our last action point. And that is the basic idea. We would go around in a circle. After that, the next round would begin, and the events would occur. And I'll go ahead and show you an event. It shows the select one enemy vehicle. It has -1 armor until the end of turn. So at the beginning of everybody's turn, they're going to get to use this card on one of the vehicles in play to help them progress throughout the game. So these event cards are used by everybody, and kind of has like a selected use for each person. On the next round, you'd simply draw a new event card. Anyway, let me go ahead and take you into the future a little bit to show you some of the other actions in play. Okay, so I'm now taking you into the future of the game, and as you see, I've kind of gone ahead and set it up here so you can see all the different things that we can do throughout the game. As you'll notice, the first thing we're going to be doing is going ahead and starting with blue here with my action points. And what you do is, whenever you're starting your turn on one of these spaces, you simply flip them over to their green side to indicate that you now have control of them. At the end of your turn, if you still have control of them, then you're going to take them and collect them. But you actually have to walk onto them their turn beforehand to get to flip them on your next turn. So just keep that in mind. Also, we have the event card, which is this card we just went ahead and flipped over here. And this one says you can remove 1 damage point from any vehicle, including a wrecked one. So I would get to do that with one of mine. I could choose either this one here, or I could choose this one over here. I'll choose the smaller one because it has less health than this one does here. Then I'm going to go ahead and check the round and make sure I've moved it. So I moved from 1 over here to 2, and then from 2 to 3, which this will be the third round, I guess we can say. And we're going to go ahead and start now. So what can we do? Well, we can first choose to attack if we'd like, and you can attack in up to 3 on the 3 sides here. So like a 180 degrees up to 3 for each of the different vehicles. Some of them have other different rules though. For instance, this one here though, all you're simply going to do is roll your attack, and you go ahead and look at this one here. What kind of vehicle is it? It's a wrecker. And what attack does it have? It has 2. And you're going to take the 2 die here and use your action point, flip, roll, and you're attacking this guy over here, which is a buggy, and you're going to look at the buggy's armor, which is 4, so neither of these guys hit. Now, if it was 4 or higher, this would do damage, and they would hit for the difference here, and you'd simply place these guys on top of this thing here. But we didn't, so too bad for him. We go ahead and use another action. Let's go ahead and move this big rig, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, I think is all we can do with the big rig. Let me go ahead and make sure. Oh, one more. 4. And there we go ahead and move the big rig. So that would be another action. Now let's go ahead and do something else. How about we can move this buggy, I guess. Or we can move this guy here. So flip this here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe he'll stop right there. Maybe that's all he wants to do. And I want to go ahead and collect a card, so I'll take another salvage card here. And if I wanted to, I could also go ahead and play a salvage card. Now, there's a couple of them that do different things. Some of them do a lot of things. Here, this one's an easy one. Play during a crash and burn. Take target rerolls, resulting and or for distance once. Okay, so that kind of makes... I'll explain that a little bit here. Well, there's some other ones. Use at the start of your opponent's turn. Take 1 action with one of their vehicles at random, except big rigs. Cannot move into water or off the board. No AP lost. Effective vehicle cannot be used further this turn. Okay, so these are something for other people's other turns on other people's turns. What other action could I do? I think I will attempt to repair. So I'm going to attempt to repair this guy over here, and that is simply to roll 2 dice, and you're going to go ahead and do that. And whoop, and boop. And right here, this blue guy over here. So we'll go ahead and look at his armor. And we look at the wrecker, and it's 5. So we do successfully remove 1 off here, which is really nice. And that will conclude our actions for this one. We will move on to the next player, and we'll go ahead and say that that is Green. So Green is going to take his actions. So we'll move these guys back, and we'll just go ahead and use these guys here for Green. And Green gets to do one of his things. He gets to take off a damage, which is nice. So that's how that event card is working out for him. And maybe he will go ahead and move. So he'll go 1 and 2 and 3. And that's it. He'll stop there. Now, after he's gone ahead and moved, he could have also, before he moved, he could have chose to do basically an overdrive, full throttle, which means that he gets to roll die, and if he rolls a die and it's greater than 0, he gets to add that to his move set. But his die minus his size, I should say. So he'd look at his size if he wanted to, which the Wrecker says his size is 3. He'd roll a die. Show you how that works. 1. So his die minus his size, which is 1 minus 3, which would fail. So he'd only get to move 1 extra space if he wanted to try and go farther. And he would have to end his actions on this guy here. However, if he rolled the die that was 5 minus his 3, it'd be 2, so you get to actually do 2 extra moves, which is nice. So doing that full throttle is going to benefit you if you want to, but it's kind of a risk. Otherwise, he could choose to ram, and when he rams after he's moving, he's going to simply, with this guy specifically, it would be 3 spaces away, because every character has special abilities here. And if we look at the Wrecker says that he can steamroll, move up to 3 hexes your current facing for free when ramming. So he's going to try and ram red here. And when he moves up here, the ramming is kind of an interesting thing. He can do his, up to 3 adjacent hexes, or with this guy he gets 3. And usually it's a range of 1, but this guy's special, right? Like I was saying. So he would take his armor value, and we're going to go ahead and look at the Wrecker's armor value, which is 5. And he's going to take that and he's going to roll. All right. And then he's going to say, okay, so each die over the enemy vehicle's size. So we'll look at the enemy vehicle, which is this little guy here, the Scout, and his size is 1. So these guys wouldn't go for it, but he would get these 3. Then you're going to look at your vehicle's size, and his is a Wrecker, which is a 3. So you got 3 and 3 is 6. Plus, while he was moving, he would get a bonus of 1. And if he was hitting the guy from the back, he'd get another bonus. I think you can get bonuses from the side as well. But let me go ahead and show. So then the next thing is going to be ramming. So your opponent gets to roll as well. And they're going to roll their armor value. For this guy, it would be 3. And looks at their opponent's size, and this is 3, so he gets 1. Plus, he gets a bonus for his size, which is 1, so that's 2. So if this guy had a total of 4 and this guy a total of 2, he would end up taking 2 points of damage, which would be enough to wreck it. I think in this instance, he would take even more than that. But what happens is when this vehicle gets wrecked, which can be really nasty. Let's go ahead and try and put these little fires on this guy here. Boop, and boop. Then you're going to roll on a chart, and on the back of this card here shows a little chart, and you roll a 1 or 4 through 6, a 1 or a 2, 4 or 6, or a 3 or 5. So you roll this and see what happens. On a 3, it says the vehicle swerves before continuing forward. The first move is spent moving diagonal without charging, blah, 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 blah. So basically the idea is, depending on the chart, it could move out of the way. It could blow up off the board and do damage to everybody. There's a lot of different things it can do. One is where it blows up, and the other one's making move side to side, or based on the direction it has to go, you'll roll a die again for the following bottom chart, and that will show how many spaces away from the vehicle it will move, based on how hard it gets hit, right? So that would be a ram, and you use another action point for that, so on and so forth. Now, also, another thing to note is at the end of your turn, before I should have waited to do this, but at the end of your turn, you're actually going to take these guys off if they're green, and you collect them. So green would also have done that too. I'm going to flip this guy over just like that. So at the end of his turn, after he's done using all of his action points, maybe he's drawn a salvage card, maybe he has gone ahead and moved his vehicles a little more, or he's tried to attack, and attacking is basically the same thing he was doing before. And then after that, he would also collect his. After everybody has gone ahead throughout that and moved all their vehicles and done everything, the next round would occur, the next event would be flipped over, and everybody would get to use the next event stuff, as well as continue to play the game. Now, another interesting thing to note, too, is whenever you take off one of these salvage points, you're going to look at this chart here, you're going to roll the die, and based on the number it gets, this will be 1, you're going to place a new salvage area, anywhere on that specific tile, as long as it's on the outskirts. So he could put this guy right here. And he got 2 of them, so he actually placed another one. 3. There we go, right over here. And then for green, he would actually have to roll his as well at the end of his turn, which would be 2. And it's over here somewhere, so we'll put it right there. Now, you can't place them on these unpassable terrain or any of the hazardous terrain as well as any on the outside, so just like that. And that will keep people moving around the board continuously trying to get new spaces. And the rounds are going to keep going until the very end of the game, in which you're going to try and tally up these pieces here. And whoever has the most is the winner. So that covers basically the events, all the different attacks and moves and stuff like that, as well as healing, searching for salvage, attempting repairs, also bringing vehicles into play. So if you lose a vehicle for any known reason, exploding or whatever, it being salvaged, you could bring it back into play, but it only gets to have 1 HP when it comes back into play. And then there's other things that can happen, like little things randomly, like hazards. You could take extra damage, but you can't go into them unless you're rammed into them. And that's pretty much the idea of the game. So that is the idea of how you play Wreck and Ruin. Try to give you guys a good example, a thorough go through of this. Let me tell you what I think about it. So before I get into my full review, I want to let you know that there is an extra little caveat I missed out on. But whenever you roll a 6, no matter who you are or what it's for, you can actually roll another die, additional die, and you get that full success no matter what. So if you're an underdog, that's an interesting mechanic that'll let you continually try and catch up with that special mechanism there, as well as the special player cards, the class cards here that you get one of, and you can only use it once a game. They're very powerful. This one here says play at the start of an opponent's turn. They lose 2 action points for this turn only, and all other opponents lose 1 action point for their next turn, and lost AP are returned at the end of the player's own turn. So just basically stopping people from playing actions for a full round almost. They lose at least 1 or even 2. So it can be pretty devastating for people. Also, to note, the different salvage cards, there's a wide variety of them, and there's a ton of different things they can do. Some of them affect putting extra vehicles onto the board, so not just 1, it could be 2 for 1 single action point, healing additional, different bonuses and ramming. There's a bunch of cool stuff in here, as well as the event cards, which is probably my favorite thing about the game is the event cards, how they come up. They remind me a little bit like the Crossroads cards in Dead of Winter, but not really, because you're not like triggering them. They just kind of start and play, but it's always a new action you could take on your turn for free, and everybody gets that action, making it fairly balanced throughout the entire game. As well as another interesting thing about the game is whenever you collect these salvage points, they're just going to be roaming they're going to be dropping across the map, and you're always searching for them. You do get that Mad Maxy kind of Thunder Road feel where you're going around and like blasting into people. The full throttle's cool. You can have there's a little bit of that chance where you might decide you want to full throttle into an opponent's like, I don't know what you'll call a post-apocalyptic truck, and hit them, ram them, or just push through, but you also could screw up in that same manner. There's a bunch of simple mechanisms of the game, and while it does sound a little complicated because there's a lot to it, it's fairly simple as it stands. You have 6 rounds, you have 5 actions, there are 4 basic vehicle actions, and there are 3 actions that you can take without using their vehicles. Most of them at least require 1 vehicle on the board in order to do so, minus putting another vehicle on the board from your wreckage. Also, adding nice little things like this little track here that shows where you place all the new salvage areas and how the rounds go. It's fairly simple and nice and uncomplex way to get things on the board, making dice rolling fairly easy. There is a good amount of luck in the game because you are rolling die for the most part, and it does feel kind of like that Warhammer-esque feel, but it's just basically bashing cards into each other. But you have a lot of different cards in the salvage area that is going to make up for that wide range of luck, as well as the fact that even if you're not doing so well, like when I was playing, I was able to roll a lot of 6s, and I started coming back in the game because I was able to do extra damage, I was able to do extra heals and all that good stuff. And yeah, overall the game's beautiful as far as like that gritty, that nasty like Thunder Roady feel. I don't know how to explain it, but like that post-apocalyptic feel. And you do feel like you're pushing cars into each other. It reminds me kind of like British versus Pirates, a game I originally did a review on a long time ago, which was an excellent little ship game where you're moving around based on the wind and all that kind of stuff. This one feels fairly similar in that aspect, as just you're using cars and stuff, and instead of like cannons and whatnot, you're just busting into people as well as shooting them from the sides. One other little thing I mentioned too actually is this big thing here can shoot from all angles all the way around in a 3 hexagon space. These guys are really cool, but when you lose them it's not so good. Other than that though, it's a very, very solid game. Very, very fun. I enjoyed my playthroughs with it, and we played it countless times. It took a bit to understand it at first, and I think if you're If you're a dice roller kind of guy and you like a little bit of strategy involved, it's not super highly complex, but there is quite a bit of rules. But it's also not super simple. So if you're interested in a lighthearted game, this is probably not for you. But if you like that more gritty, deep, thinky kind of game, you're probably going to like this one. And I highly suggest you check out Wreck and Ruin in the description below. Alright guys, thanks for watching another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter board game review. If you like this video, go and check out the rest of our videos here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment. It all helps. We do greatly appreciate it. Also, go ahead and check out Wreck and Ruin, currently on Kickstarter, in the description below, as well as checking out our website, unfilteredgamer.com. Tons of blog posts, giveaways, reviews, Kickstarter lists, and even more. Good stuff. Just go ahead and look it up. Please help us out. Everything is appreciated. As well as checking out everythingboardgames.com, The Giveaway Geek, and Devitos Gaming. If you're interested in those guys, they're great. They do tons of board game giveaways, blog posts, spotlights, and more. I think they're even getting involved in video content too, which is awesome. So yeah, just check them out. They have even more content than my site. Alright guys, well that is it for this video, and once again, I look forward to seeing you next time.